Hi everyone. How's everyone doing? Who's excited that Patty is going to talk? Table 8?
Table 3.
Okay, alright. So, before talking about Patricia, okay, so I want to share a little story about yesterday. You know, as our good friend, right, we always think about our friends getting married from a friend perspective. But we don't always think about how it is for the parents when their children get married. So I asked Patricia's father yesterday, I said, Mr. Chu, so how do you feel about your firstborn being married? I said, what kind of moment is this for you? And you know what he says? He says, I don't have to worry about payments anymore. He said, this is a transfer of responsibility.
Good answer.
But in all seriousness, Patricia is my best friend. We've known each other for 14 years, met freshman year at UCLA. So we've done everything together pretty much since the year that we met. Lots of similarities, gone everywhere together. We even shared the same little sis, Brenda, who's sitting over the table over there. We've traveled everywhere together. We went to Taiwan. We went to Love Boat together. I met her family. She met my family. We also went to Puerto Vallarta, Europe, and everybody who has gone to these trips with us in the room. Numerous Vegas trips, San Diego, LA, every city that you guys can imagine. And then even when Patty went off to grad school and she went to SC and became a Trojan. We still supported her. And you know, we went down to LA to visit her. I tagged along with her and went to her NBA poker tournament as if I went to school there as well. There's a few of us who went to C4C with her 2 years in a row. So no matter what, we've always done everything together for the last 14 years. Even other things. We also had cars that had no air conditioning in college. So for those of you who have driven up and down Highway 5 during the summertime, hot. Very hot and stinky when you pass through Terrace Ranch. So one thing I remember about Patty is that she had a really nice red Integra in college. And she had the car that everyone wanted to drive and sit in. But she had no air conditioning, so I used to ask her, I said, so how do you manage the summertime driving up and down Highway 5 when it's really hot and smelly? You don't have air conditioning. She said, well, you know what? It's so hot, I would just take a water bottle while I'm driving my car. I poured in some Kleenex, and I would just take the Kleenex, and I would just pour it over my head and just let the water drip down because I'm so hot. You've come a long way since then. So Patty is honestly the most likable person that I know. She has more friends than anyone I know. If you guys go on her Facebook site, I think she has about 700 friends. I think for a lot of us who have a lot of friends on Facebook, honestly, maybe 20% of them are actually our friends. For Patty, 700 of them are her actual true friends, seriously. So another way you can think of how likable Patty is, she had 27 girls go to her bachelorette party last night. 27. Pretty good.
Yeah.
So with Patty, you know, because we're best friends, I always ask her about relationships, about Fred, you know, what she looks for in a guy, and she said that all of us always have a checklist, right? So on her checklist, the top 3 criteria, and she said this over and over to me, is that number 1, he has to be confident. Number 2, good heart. And number 3 is sense of humor. She said she spent a lot of time thinking about this. So, in comes Fred. And then, so I said, okay, that's great. You know, I haven't spent that much time with Fred. This was before. And I said, well, so how is he confident? I can see from what you told me he has a warm heart and a sense of humor. How is he confident? And she said, well, you know what? He kissed me really early on. He grabbed me, kissed me, and I knew, you know what? He's confident. He's assertive and confident. She started talking about Fred to all of our friends. You know, we would always ask, so what is Fred like? And she would say, you know what? He's absolutely wonderful. He's the male version of me. So they're very similar, as all of you guys know. Wonderful, loving, kind, laid back. And I honestly feel that since you guys have gone together, Patty, you've definitely been even more patient, even more selfless, even kinder, all those great things. And I think it really is the effect that Fred has on you and the influence that he has on you. So with all those great things, I said, so like anything else? She said, well, because Fred is so generous, sometimes he tends to do things that are a little different. I said, well, what? Well, he's so generous, like he tends to give away things that are actually mine. And I said, what are you talking about? I said, well, for example, so Fred told me one day, he said, you know what, Patty, so we're going to give your camera to my dad, and then I'll give you my camera, and then I'm going to get a new camera.
That's called transfer of responsibility.
Yeah, transfer of responsibility, exactly. Yeah. So it's okay, it's all in the same family. So I told you guys the top 3 lists that Patty had, and of course Fred is the one that met all of that. I have my top 3 lists for both Patty and Fred, individually and as a couple. Think of you guys both as incredibly kind, generous, and honestly, the best. Unbeatable. So let's have a toast. Keep it Fred.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, our best man, Jim.